in the great adaptation, it's based on perception. It's based on how we as a collective will perceive reality. And that's as a whole, right? Almost every sector of life, but it's gonna happen all at once. It's not gonna be like a gradual thing. Once there's a small crack, all of it just, reveals the new. All it takes is one. And then here come everybody else. God don't make mistakes. And God don't seem to mind using the most unexpected circumstance or individual to do his work through. I think people who were looked at as crazy 10 years ago, how we perceived them as crazy last decade, I think we are starting to realize that that was a misstep. And vice versa, the people who we perceived as successful or worthy of our respect and admiration for free or even for a price even, we're now starting to realize that was a misstep. And there's a growing sensitivity to us as a whole. It kind of reminds me of the macro micro, where the shit that's happening beyond us trickles down and affects us, and then that trickles down and affects whatever's underneath the human totem pole, the human level. Again, whatever we perceived as under us and above us are going through a drastic, one sweeping adaptation and change, ultimately. We no longer perceive things above us or things underneath us the same. From a psychological evaluation point of view, and also the point of view of trying to absorb the lesson within it, right? Again, macro, micro. So retrieving a personal value from a collective agreement or a collective movement. How can the individual apply their personal circumstance to this change? Or how can the individual adapt to the collective change? It's going to be interesting to see and observe where we're going or where we're going to be, and how that new place is going to affect how we perceive the world around us, how we perceive each other, how we treat each other possibly. Again, how we see above and underneath ourselves, how we see the outer realms. All of that is going to change. It has to change. It seems that God wants it to change. It seems. I don't know the mind of God. None of us do. Man is not to know the mind of God. But we are to perceive. We are to explore. We are to study, we are to reflect, we are to integrate ourselves in attempt to come to an understanding or a reverence for what we perceive God to be in our lives, and God's mysteries and how they function outside of our lives. Right? When you see another, how do you perceive that other? How do you perceive and receive? So there's going to be perception and reception also going through a change. There's this, I know I keep repeating myself, but that there is a, you know how you turn a snow globe thing? It's that. Or it's the time thing, the sand. When you turn it over and it start the time all over again. That's what's going to happen in terms of, well, it's already happening, honestly. And again, there's the rise of the sensitive souls, very, very sensitive souls that are, their existence, not even what they're doing, but their existence, the lives of these sensitive souls being born, maybe the past, like from now all the way until, I'm not even going to try to put a timeline on it. We can see that the sensitivity has risen, even more so than it's been the past 5 years. But the existence of these sensitive souls is having an effect on what we perceived as natural up to this point, what we've accepted as a social standard up to this point, what we've accepted as our leaders of society. All of that is being flipped. It's being turned over, and it's going to restart. I perceive God to be restarting the timeline. It's time for the old to fade out for good. And when I say the old, I'm not just talking about people. I'm talking about how, again, this idea of perception and reception. It's gone now. It's gone. And the people who are trying to hold on, I'm sorry, but you left your back door open. Well, I guess you didn't leave it open. God is just opening your back door. And because you're in a transitional state, well, we are, right? We're going from the old to the new. Reception, perception. Because we're in that transitional state, that's called a liminal space. When you're in between a transition. So those who are trying to resist the transition, God is like gonna sneak through the back door. I'm using a metaphor. You're smart enough to be able to understand what I'm saying. Sneak through the back door and open it. And when God opens the back door, it's like opening the door of a plane. And that atmosphere, which will be the public for us, which will be the other for us, they're going to be able to see in your house. They're going to be able to look into your house because God opened your back door. And I believe that's what's happening to those who are resisting this evolution, resisting the fact that it's time to let it go. Whatever the it is, and everyone has an it, it's time to let it go because we are in a transition as a collective. And I perceive God to be doing this to the timeline. So, if you are a sensitive soul, it's time for you to speak. You have to speak. There's been a few people who have led this arc, who've built this arc in a sense, the past, I would say specifically like 7 or 8 years, they have put themselves into a very vulnerable position, right? Made themselves an easy target, because in a world full of lies, the truth becomes the most dangerous thing. The truth is the most powerful threat to this world. You ever notice, like, any time in your life when you told the blunt truth, you ever notice how people respond to it? You ever notice how kind of like life, the world, not life, but the world, society responds to you when you just tell the blunt truth? There's a reason why people, or society, and the way society is set up and what holds it together is not necessarily based on the truth. Not necessarily based on the truth. So as a result, you coming around telling the truth about shit, you pose a threat to the entire infrastructure that we've accepted as the norm. And you try to relax, I'm getting riled up. You try to relax. But the truth is the most dangerous weapon in a world full of lies. It's time for the sensitive souls to speak up, because the sensitivity is what's going to allow the message to be passed on. You can only pass on a message in a way that goes unseen and unsaid through a sensitivity. There is a portal that connects you to me and me to the other, and etc. and etc. That is I always describe it as an invisible cord. It's a cord that God connects all his children to one another. Regardless of where you are, you can be way on the other side of the world. There is somebody in fucking Zimbabwe that my cord is attached to. It's like that for all of God's children. So God keeps his children all connected. So when you meet someone that's connected to that cord, aka when you find yourself, your tribe, or the people that are from previous lifetimes possibly, that you meet in this lifetime, and y'all have that connection to where no matter how long, no time, no space can get in between. When y'all get back together, it's like there was never a distance. Everyone has those friends, I would hope. That's because y'all cords are connected. Y'all are children of God. Y'all are brother and sister. And being brother and sister, the sensitivity will also, and the more the sensitive souls speak and express, the way we treat each other, because it's reception and perception. The way you omit and assert, and also the way you receive. Masculine assert, feminine receiving. And we both have both. That's also going to go through a transformation. Well, it already is. And if you don't feel it, it's because you're resisting. This is a warning. Do not resist the change. Don't resist this. This is an opportunity. Look at it as an opportunity, not as a punishment. Look at it as an opportunity to explore God's deepest mysteries through this sensitivity. Look at it as an opportunity to find a space to build a new space for yourself, to explore within you everything you always wanted to know about yourself. Everyone has secrets that they hold about themselves, to themselves, and from themselves. It is time for you to face that. One of the ways you can do it is solitude. I would encourage every motherfucker who follow me, learn how to be by your fucking self. Excuse my language. I'm sorry if I'm too aggressive. But it's not anger. It could be anger, but it's also passion. It's just a passion. Learn how to be by yourself and master it. Master the difficulty of solitude. And to me, I might agree that solitude is like real love. Love can be very difficult because God is complicated. Learn how to be by yourself and master that difficulty, because only, I believe, the foundation of building upon this sensitivity can only happen in solitude, my brother and sister. Only in solitude. Study yourself. Study the timeline. Watch people. People watch. Learn from others. Watch how people on a mass scale. Pay attention to people's mannerisms. Pay attention to people's overall temperament and the relationship they potentially have with themselves. And if you're resisting, stop. Stop resisting. While we're in this transitional state, this liminal space, I said in previous afterthoughts, maybe a year ago, to study liminal spaces. But anyway, don't resist it. God bless you. Honestly. Especially if you are sensitive. If you are sensitive, you may have noticed your energy is very, and the way your sensitivity works has gone through a development. You've noticed a change in demeanor and attitude in terms of how that gets expressed. Whatever your demeanor was previous to this transition and change, it's still that, but it's a stronger, more confident, solid version of that. Whatever that your approach, your personal approach to God's mystery, it's still very much intact. Because you sustained it, you built your foundation upon that. And if you genuinely and intentionally gone into that, like if you knew, like, I'm a sensitive motherfucker, what is this about? If you was one of those, you've developed up to a point you didn't expect, you didn't see coming. Surprisal theory, our irony, a coincidence, God's mystery. What is our therapy? Later.